Been watching ball with my big old brain and think the tape needs some explaining. Studying the stats to understand it. Hey, yo.
Talk data to me.
Welcome in, y'all. It's a great day to be great, as Mr. Ian Hartitz would say. You know why? Because it is episode 9 of Talk Data to Me. Sorry, guys, we did not have an episode for you last week. My wife decided to have a kidney stone. Bless her soul, Thor. I've had a kidney stone. I don't know if you have. It is massively painful. And I just have to say, my wife, I think, has a higher pain tolerance than me. She would get a better scouting report on the ability to handle pain. The woman is an absolute freaking warrior. Now, she's had 3 children. So a little stone is like, okay, whatever. She kept telling them in the hospital, she's like, I don't need the pain meds. And they're like, well, what's your pain on a scale of 1 to 10? She's like, oh, it's a 7. I'm like, if she says it's a 7, it's like an 11. Like, give her whatever the woman needs. Come on, let's make her feel comfortable. But you guys know Thor. You can find him over on Twitter. If you're not following him, you're just being silly. But it's at Thorku, Thorku. Great follow over there. We're going to talk some data. We're going to talk some film today on the Talk Data to Me episode. And we got 7 questions that we want to ask Thor as the film expert on some big names that are emerging in the fantasy football space, just emerging in the NFL. Like, this is what we're really doing. We're watching the NFL. We love football, and we just happen to play this game called fantasy. So, Thor, welcome to the show.
It's good to be here, man. I'm excited to talk about some of these guys with you today.
Well, the first thing I have to do, Thor, is I have to embarrass you a little bit, right? So I don't know if your cheeks change color, if they get rosy, if you're embarrassed. We'll see. We'll see if you have any poker tells right now, how you deal with, I wouldn't say pressure, but, someone giving you praise. And so I've pulled up Comet, which, guys, by the way, you can get Fantasy Life Plus. You can get everything we have in our Tier 2 for free because Comet is willing to pay for it for you. So that's a $100 value. All you have to do is go over to fantasylife.com/Comet, lowercase COMET, and you will see the link there. You follow a quick 2-minute guide on how you sign up for Comet. And then once you're in Comet, you will get a discount code that's specific to you. And then while you're in Comet, you sign up for Fantasy Life, and bada bing, bada bang, you've got all of our tools completely for free. The utilization report, the trade analyzer, start sit tool, projections, ceilings, floor, all that sort of stuff you're going to have access to. So, Thor, I went to Comet, and using Perplexity, which is their AI system, I said, is Thor Nystrom a good NFL draft analyst? And I just have to tell you, Thor, that if the robots take over the planet tomorrow, we're probably a few weeks away from the robots taking over. But when they do, you are not going to be a target. Now, I don't know what you do in your spare time. You may do some John Connor stuff that's getting you in trouble. But as far as football goes, the robots really do like you. Thor Nystrom is widely regarded as a credible and well-respected NFL draft analyst. He is known for his thorough and data-driven, true to my heart, Thor, data-driven scouting approach to prospects, producing extensive, and guys, these are extensive. And Thor, I just have real quick, he is a master wordsmith. Whenever I read what Thor writes and then I read my writing, I'm like, man, I suck. Like, Thor is like so colorful with the way that with the way that you talk about players. And man, I have to tell you, I've never cared more about like the personal side of players more than when I read your prospect profiles. They are fantastic. How much research you do going into the background of these people as human beings, where they're coming from. So I have to give you a major hat tip on that. But it talks about Thor, and it says his expertise has been recognized both within fantasy football circles and among industry professionals. That's very impressive. You were named the FSWA College Sports Writer of the Year in 2018. And then whenever they talk about your predictions and analysis, it is often shared around the fantasy football community, and your evaluations are people love going to your evaluations to find an edge in dynasty leagues and to help them build, really good dynasty squads, which we care about. We've got a pretty big dynasty audience here as well. So, Thor, hopefully that did not, embarrass you too much, but just enough, to give people kind of a tease. You got to be following Thor over on, I guess it's not Twitter anymore, it's X. I'm going to finally just cave and call it X. But without further ado, we're going to jump into the first player here. And that player is none other than Mr. Woody Marks. And if we look at Woody Marks, man, this is a guy that we've seen his role over the last couple of games really go to a new level. And if we look at the utilization and we get that pulled up for you guys here, I'm going to go ahead and show it to you. And I've just got it down to the last 2 games. You guys, when you use these tools, you've got the weak slider range. You can look at snaps. You can go by team. Right now I'm in the season view, but you can look at Woody Marks. 54% of the snaps over the last 2 games, 48% of the rushing attempts, 44% route share. He's got a 21% targets per route run, so getting active in the pass game, playing all the 2-minute offense, 100% of those snaps, also getting all the long down and distance work, 73%. Got a utilization score of 70. Guys that have come out in that range, Thor, historically have finished in the top 24 running backs well over half the time. So I do think we've got something serious on our hands. If I just take this down to the last week, and we don't know for sure that this will stick, guys. So when I ran everything in the utilization report this week, I used the last 2 games because we still have Nick Chubb there. But last week, man, Woody Marks in a game where they were leading. This is not a trailing game script. This is a game where you would think Nick Chubb would be the man on the field. No, it was Woody Marks getting 58% of the snaps, widening that attempt share 52% to 39%. And obviously the routes and everything continued to be there for Marks. But last week, 27.9 fantasy points. You guys that had him in your lineup are absolutely loving it. So Thor, I think what people are really wanting to know is like, hey, is this something that we think is going to stick for Woody Marks? We do know that Joe Mixon, we really don't have a timeline on him, guys. And right now, leaning towards like, we might not see Joe Mixon this year. Like, he could eventually be a thorn in the side of Marks at some point, but I don't know, man. Like, with the way Marks is playing, will they even care that much about going back to an old veteran? Let's talk a little bit at a high level what you were seeing on the film with Woody Marks. And guys, we have a special surprise for you today. We're actually going to share some film. We're going to see how this goes. We don't know. The NFL could get this taken down. YouTube could take it down, but we're going to give it a shot because, like, we think that we're bringing added value by letting Thor help you see some of these plays. So we'll talk about a few plays in particular here in a minute. But Thor, let's kick it off. What are you seeing with Woody Marks?
Well, I think what we seen last game, that the role is going to continue the rest of this season. They don't have anyone else to take that role from him. You saw him coming up from behind on Nick Chubb week by week, and it was sort of a harbinger of what we got last week against the Titans of that thing flipping and Woody Marks becoming the lead back. That's going to continue until the end of the season. I think dynasty players thinking about that's one where it gets a little bit more complicated because the knock on Woody Marks, it doesn't have anything to do with skill. He's super duper skilled. He's super versatile and super experienced. The things that the knock on him, it's something you can't do anything about, which is he's only kind of a meh athlete, right? I mean, he's got a good NFL frame, just under 215 pounds, but 66 percentile RAS, decidedly below average for NFL starting running backs there. In the future, you could see a thing where the Texans in the draft, maybe, like, for instance, Tyrone Tracy with the Giants, and then they take Skattebo, something like that, because I think Woody Marks would be a really, really good complementary back to sort of an early down meat and potatoes kind of grinder like that. But I do really like Woody Marks' skill, and I wasn't surprised to see him having success. He was in this good situation and then pushing to the very top of it. Going back to the experience thing and the versatility thing, Woody Marks, kind of a fascinating story. Coming out of high school, he signed with Mike Leach in Mississippi State to play in an air raid, and he got onto the field immediately. Woody Marks caught 143 balls over his first 2 years on campus. That's crazy. Averaging over 70 catches. Your first 2 years out of high school in an air raid system, playing for the godfather of the air raid and Mike Leach. Then after Leach's death, Mississippi State went to a pro-style system the next year. That team was bad, but Woody Marks functioned, effectively when he was on the field. He got dinged up a couple of times there, but he played in the pro-style where they weren't throwing him the ball no more. It's just now you're running between the tackles. And then last year he transfers to USC playing for Lincoln Riley, more of kind of a hybrid system where they both use him as a receiver and a runner. And he shattered his career high for rushing while also, catching over 30 balls. He's a guy who has played in all these different disparate systems, gained the trust of his coaches immediately, and was on the field as the starting running back in all those situations. You like him as a receiver. That's where the skill really comes into play. Love the depth of his routes. Love his ability to decipher coverage looks. we were talking before the show, you see this stuff already with him in the game against the Titans, the little things that Woody Marks does that other young running backs don't do, like getting clean chips on defensive ends before he gets out into his route path, which is something that the coaching staff there is very much going to appreciate when you as the Texans are starting at left tackle a rookie, Ariante Ursary from Minnesota, that most people thought was either going to be a right tackle or a guard in the NFL. That's your blindside guy. Your whole offensive line struggles. The ability to get those clean chips really, really helps, something that Stroud likes as well. And then the fact that Marks can get out into his route very quickly and decipher that coverage look. You see when they've dropped into his zone, you'll see him park really quick, make himself available. In man coverage, he's able to shake guys as well. In very reliable hands. So the passing game is where Woody Marks is going to be most effective. But this year, it seems like he's going to get to do it all down the stretch here.
So I think the really interesting thing with Woody Marks, and we don't always see this, Thor, is like the data really matches like what you just described about him. Now, not the greatest athlete ever. That's kind of showing up, I think, in some of the underlying data. Not to say that that's always the thing that's the driver to, these efficiency stats we're about to walk through. We've seen really good athletes just struggle to be able to do anything from a standpoint on the field. So it's this combination of like, do you have vision? Can you read your blocking? All these sort of things. And then do you have the athleticism on top of that, right? To gain these extra yards? Can you actually unlock your athleticism? So Woody Marks is probably somewhere in between, but I think he does a lot of other things well. But just real quick, like what the underlying data says, 3.9 yards per carry. And guys, this is a small sample. I limited it to guys that have at least 25 attempts because obviously Woody Marks just getting involved over the last two games. The 3.9 yards per carry, that's below the league average of 4.3. 2.79 yards after contact, that's 29th out of the 43 qualifiers. That's below the league average of 2.9. But not getting a lot of help from his offensive line, which we knew that the Texans had offensive line woes coming into the season. But 1.11 yards before contact, that's 25th. And then you look at the explosive run rate, like that's the area that could be problematic for Marks. I don't want to overreact because it is a small sample, but only 6.9% of his attempts have gone for 10 plus yards. That's 34th out of the 43 qualifiers. Missed tackles forced per attempt, 14%, well below the league average of 17%. But shining as a receiver, like you talked about, 19% targets per route run. And the big thing, 2.23 yards per route run. You mentioned like he was working down the field. And that's something that we really see in the film. We'll look at a couple of plays here in just a minute on the film for you guys. But when I'm looking at these guys, and you're better at this than me, Thor. You spend so much time evaluating these guys from a film standpoint. I do watch a lot of film. Basically, I let the data kind of lead me each week to, okay, here's some guys I probably need to go watch. When I first got into the fantasy industry, a lot of my time was actually spent watching film and trying to learn from people that know how to watch it. People like you, Matt Waldman, Lance Zierlein. There's a lot of different people a lot of great film analysts out there. So, and just trying to understand the game. But what I saw watching the game, and you jump in here anywhere you want, like just interrupt me and like interject your thoughts. But like at the first level, I like to look at the first level, the second level, and the third level. So guys, when I say that, first level is at the line of scrimmage, right? This is where you're reading your blocks. This is where you get through the hole. Can you get through an arm wrap, that kind of thing? A defender like can just get his paw on you. Can you get through that? Second level is, okay, now you've made it past the line of scrimmage and your job is to make the next guy miss, right? Create the right angle, those sort of things. And ultimately your goal is to get to the third level, which is 10 plus yards down the field in the way that I look at it. And when I looked at Marks, like the things that I saw that I liked, I thought he had good patience. Like he's willing to press the hole, even though like he, can't be super confident, to be honest, like in the offensive line in front of him, but like trusting it. Like he sees the cutback lanes, doesn't always like completely get there. He had one giant hole where he fell. Like, so like that's going to happen. your feet get twisted up, but like he's seeing it. And the other thing I would say, like he's got a sneaky good, like he's kind of got some jump to him. Like his bounce, his jump cut, not bad. Like I think those things are there. Like how quickly can he accelerate after that and gain the yards afterwards? I do think that's something to question. The biggest thing that I watch though is it's almost like maybe Woody Marks knows some of his limitations. Because dude, he stays really sticky to his blocks through the hole. So like if they're running some sort of power concept, like dude, I saw him stay on the hip of the pulling guard, like 4 or 5 yards downfield and made the defender commit. And then he made his cut off of that. Man, a lot of running backs won't do that. They get out in that open spot and they just go ahead and just take off. And so, like, there are ways that Woody Marks could actually just maximize like what he does as a runner, because he does seem to be pretty smart. And I've also noticed like the way he sets it up, like he just leaves himself room to get away from the next closest defender that's sticking their arm out. Like he will really hug that blocker. At the second level, again, we'll stick to that lead blocker into the second level. He has decent speed around the corner. It's definitely not elite, but he stays under control. So he's under control to an extent where he can kind of set up to make that next guy miss if they're taking a really sharp angle on him. So not elite by any means, but sneaky stop ability. Kind of saw him do a little bit of phone booth action in this last game that he played down inside the 10-yard line, where he kind of, was in a box with 3 defenders and managed to like get 4 or 5 yards out of it. I thought that was impressive. So not a high end make you miss guy, but like he has some subtleness to his game that I kind of appreciated once I really turned on the film.
Yeah, I think that's a good way of putting it. And I agree with everything that you're saying. It's the vision, the feel, the running with tempo, the following your blocking scheme stuff that gets him through the holes, first level, like you're talking about. He ain't going to break many tackles, especially if it's like a flush attempt, but he can make, he can create off angle attempts because of that agility. Like you're talking about. The athleticism thing, that's when you get out in space. I mean, he's not running away from NFL defensive backs. That's one place where that's going to manifest. But yeah, I mean, because of the sort of I don't want to say no nonsense because that sort of evokes like a Christian Okoye or whatever. But I love that Marks, he's not a dancer, he's not tentative, he gets north south. He's going to get what's blocked for him. And sometimes you're going to get a little bit more than that. But yeah, that's, the athleticism, that's where it comes into play, where he just doesn't have the juice for the explosive plays, but he can be an efficiency player for you, both in the run game and in more to the point, the receiving game as well, which is something he's going to be doing for years and years and years is the receiving back side of it.
So let's take a look at that. I got a play queued up here against the Buccaneers. This is a 2nd and 6 play. And you'll see Woody Marks here. He's going to be lined up to the left of CJ Stroud in the backfield. And I'm just going to let this roll here, Thor. You can tell me to pause. We can roll it back. This is your show. But you can see here, I'm just going to give the quick pause. Like he's coming out, and this is potentially an option route. Looks like he sees his defender here is already leaning. He's got him leaning inside already, right? And he's making the break to the outside.
Yeah.
And then goes and gets, the yards after. Now you can see right there, he's not running away from everyone. He's got these defenders closing in on him. So I think, that the things that you're talking about the eliteness, but like, this is a guy that can work downfield. He's got a plus average depth of target. Like this is not just a swing pass and check down guy. Like you can work him into different concepts in the offense.
100%, and again, playing in the air raid, playing in Lincoln Riley's system, all this different stuff. Like this kid has been doing this for years, running all these different kinds of routes. The feel is really good. I like too that the quarterback can trust him to be where he says he's going to be on time. Right. I mean, which is something that's going to get him just that is going to get him a lot of catches in the NFL. You saw in the Titans film, like as you go through that one, Stroud looks for him more and more. There was one play where Marks is actually open and Stroud's like looking at him like right away. And then I think it clicked in Stroud's brain like, oh, I just got the ball. Like I should look further downfield. And he ends up throwing it like to someone downfield. But you can tell that CJ Stroud already super duper trusts Woody Marks.
Yeah. So love it. So when we talk about Woody Marks, for rest of season right now, I've plugged him in to the projection model. So we've got a rest of season projection model. You guys can check it out. It shows up in our trade analyzer. It powers the projections for the rest of the season.
Where you got him the rest of the season?
Yeah, so I've got him actually as running back 24 right now. So what I did is I really took the role that he had over the last 2 games. I didn't just assume automatically that he's suddenly going to be the 60% guy and Nick Chubb's going to be 35% because we don't know that for sure yet. Like it could be a game script thing. It could be a matchup thing. So I tend to play it a little conservative out of the gate. But if he were to come out and get a 60% snap share again this week and it's really Nick Chubb clearly in a second role again, like he's probably going to move up in PPR formats to like running back 18 to 16. And this is me assuming that Joe Mixon. Now I have Joe Mixon eventually coming back, but not until late in the season. I'm playing it, maybe I'm playing it slightly aggressive with Mixon. I just feel like the information we have, you just need to probably be aggressive, in my opinion, with Woody Marks for this season. I think you brought up a great point about long-term dynasty, but man, we know the cheat codes in fantasy, a massive one, right, is catching the ball in the backfield. And this is a guy that can just stay out there every single down. So I really do like that aspect of Woody Marks's game. Like, not trying to put you on the spot, but like, you think that's aggressive to be RB24? You think I'm too low? You think you'd be a little more conservative?
I would probably just be like a tick higher.
Yeah, and I like to hear that.
Yeah, because you're being a little bit more conservative. I'd probably be like a little bit more like, I expect it to even be the higher percentage going forward, because you had like this, it's gone up like basically every week. There's going to be a cap to that, of course. I mean, they're still going to use Nick Chubb. There's stuff that Nick Chubb can still do, but I don't know. I'm ballparking this because I don't have a projection system like Dwayne with fantasy, but I'll say,
just so that people know, what's really cool about it, and we've taken it to a whole another level this year. We're literally projecting out what these players are doing for every game the rest of the way, and we're accounting for teammate injuries when their teammates are due back from injury. So like Joe Mixon is in that mix. And then the other thing we do is we account for the quality of the offense. We're constantly looking at, okay, like, is this a good offense? How are they doing in the passing game? How are they doing in the run game? How is their line playing? And the cool thing, guys, is you don't have to understand all those things. The utilization score gets baked in. But whenever you go look at this, and the trade analyzer is a great place to do it on the site, and you plug in your players versus their players, just know that like, we're taking all the latest player utilization trends. We're taking all the injuries into effect, and we're forecasting that out for the complete year. And we've got a service now that feeds us all the injury stuff that we're getting through RotoWire. We've got an API to that, and we use that data. And sometimes we manually tweak it. We don't agree with like maybe the return date, and so we're taking the time. Like Matthew Friedman is giving it, and Friedman, like, dude, guys, he grinds this injury information. Our data scientist Alex, he's looking at it. So we just have so many people working on rest of season projections this year. Like, I'm so excited about it and what it does in the tools. So, but I like the fact that you were saying that you would be a tick higher. And I think his ceiling case is definitely higher, like, because he's going to, here's the other thing real quick, Thor. I know we got to move on to the next player, and we knew we would do this. But people enjoy hearing your insights. Like, when we look at the Texans passing game, we've got Nico Collins right now, and that's really it as far as like a true target earner. Christian Kirk has done some nice things over the last couple of games, not playing a full-time role yet. Jalen Knowles still young. Jaden Reed still young. Xavier Hutchinson, not really a threat, like to earn a lot of targets. We've seen him for multiple years now. Dalton Schultz is kind of a hum-ho tight end. Like, there's a world where you got a bad offensive line and you're just like, okay, it's Nico Collins, and we're going to work this guy in, and we're going to use this to offset some of our offensive line woes.
That's right. Yeah, I mean, a guy like Woody Marks, you can basically extend your running game to inoculate from a bad offensive line by using him as a receiver, as essentially an extension of the running game, by getting the ball quickly outside of the tackles. I think you're going to see some of that stuff, in addition to some of those concepts a little bit further down the field, like we were talking about. I think for me, Dwayne, like, just, sort of my takeaway on Woody Marks for fantasy folks out there, it would be, if you're in a redraft league and you don't have Woody Marks, I would try to be aggressive and try to trade for him. Because I don't, RB 18 to 20, somewhere in there is probably where I would peg him. Is Woody Marks' owner going to price him at that? I'm not sure that they will. So I think you could potentially pry Woody Marks for this season. Whereas in Dynasty, I would have the opposite advice. I would wait a couple weeks because, again, I think his snap count is going to keep going up. I think this week is a tremendous matchup against what has been the NFL's worst run defense to this point with the Baltimore Ravens. But you wait a couple weeks, Woody Marks putting up numbers, I would try to trade him if I had him in Dynasty at that point.
So here's an example. And this is, guys, you can see where the rest of the season projections come in. I just pulled up the trade analyzer here. Thor, you can see it. Guys, you can come in, you can switch to, you can see all my real-time sports fantasy life championship teams. I can sync it with my leagues, or I can just use half PPR. Let's just go to PPR for the sake of it. And I've got trading away Woody Marks, a name that I just threw in here really quickly, right, is Marvin Harrison Jr. And Marvin Harrison Jr. At 158 projected total points the rest of the way. Woody Marks at 152. Like, that's really close. Like, so, I mean, honestly, like if you needed a running back and you feeling good about receiver, like Marvin Harrison Jr. is a name I would be willing to go ahead and part ways with for Marks if I liked the rest of my wide receivers. But you guys can come in and play around with this. And you can just search, whatever players you want to look at and put Woody Marks in there. You can have multiple players in the deal. So I would just say come in and take a look at this, and you can see like how the rest of the season projection stuff. It gives you, the edge that you're getting on year-to-date points versus what we've got them projected for. It's got the utilization score in here. We also have the Xfinity best projection, so that would be the ceiling projection for Woody Marks. I've projected his median, which could be more of a split with Nick Chubb. But if things go his way, we've got a best projection of 243, which is way better than what we have as the ceiling for Marvin Harrison at 215. So if you're playing for ceiling, like what Thor was talking about, that's great. That's a good trade for you. Now you can see his bust factor is higher because we don't know for sure about Joe Mixon. We don't know for sure about what Nick Chubb's role is going to be. So it's really giving you all these data points, and depending on how your roster is constructed, like if you're looking for the upside, like it really does gravitate more to Woody Marks, even though what we're showing you here in the trade analyzer, it's a slight win for the Marvin Harrison Jr. trader in this particular case, just based on the total projections we have for the median. So really cool stuff you guys can check out over at Fantasy Life. And again, you can get it for free by signing up for Comment, like I talked about earlier in the show. And let's go on to our next player, Thor. I have to tell you, man, I didn't get to watch as much film on some of the players after this because I really got lost in a Ladd McConkey vortex. When I turned on the film, because look, guys, Ladd's underperforming. He's scoring 8.4 fantasy points per game. He's one of the players I get the absolute most questions about because I get it. You took him in round 2. You're not liking it. You're not liking what's going on. Now, I can't guarantee you that things are going to turn around for Ladd McConkey, but it's not because of Ladd McConkey. It's because Quinton Johnson has taken a step forward in his game, and then you add Keenan Allen to the offense. You now have 3 mouths to feed. Oronde Gadsden also flashing a little bit. Omarion Hampton doing some things in the pass game. Whenever the defenses are playing that deep coverage to take away those guys downfield, Herbert's shown a willingness over the last 2 games just to swing it out to Hampton and let him do his thing. So it's a crowded offense. On the other side, it is Justin Herbert. It's an offense that we like, especially once we get Joe Alt back. It is, as far as a pass rate over or drop back rate over expected, the Chargers lead the league. They're a pass first team, and you got a good quarterback. I'm very curious with what your thoughts are on the film with Ladd. I'm going to run through mine just really quick. Dude, they are giving him a lot of favorable matchups. Thor, he gets lined up inside all the time. He gets motion. They stack him. They hide him from the defense. So those are signs to me that they really want Ladd to be involved. Like they want to give him these looks. And man, watching him, he's got a great hitch route. Like he can still set up. He has enough speed to make the defender respect him. He's not elite down the field, guys. He's never going to be this elite win every time down the field, but he will hit you all day long with these underneath things. And man, then he climbs up over top of you. And I saw him getting open. He's got a really good route that basically starts off as a crosser, or a drag. And then he cuts it off sharp like a dig. But he just has these little subtle moves where I saw him on one play, Thor, actually kind of he had the defender already in trailing position, man coverage. It was press. He already beat it. He had a safety over top. And the safety had outside leverage. He gave a quick little stick move to act like he was going to cut it up the seam, turn that defender around, and now he was open against double coverage. And I'm just going to tell you this, guys. Ladd McConkey could already be a top 12 receiver this year. Justin Herbert, man, has been sacked, moved off his spot, or had to scramble out of the pocket on 3 plays where Ladd McConkey is wide open for touchdowns. When I say wide open in the NFL, I'm talking 2 or 3 steps on his defenders, and they're mostly on these crossing patterns. He's a master, dude, at getting lost in coverage. The way he throttles his routes and makes it look like he's going to get set down, and then he takes it off again. It's a freaking master class, man. So I think Ladd McConkey is a massive buy low candidate. I think it probably takes an injury, unfortunately, which we never want, to one of the other guys for him to probably be a top 12 wide receiver this year. But right now, if someone in your league's valuing him as a wide receiver 3 or a wide receiver 4, they probably aren't. But believe me, guys, there's crack in the armor because they're not liking this 8.6 fantasy points per game. So that's my high level takeaway. Just the plays alone, man, where Justin Herbert got moved off his spot. And if he doesn't, he's probably hitting Ladd for touchdowns or massive gains.
I'm with you in all formats. I would buy low if that was a possibility, right? I would kick the tires on whoever owns Ladd McConkey and see what they want. You know, I totally agree with your take to this point. I think it's all circumstantial with Ladd McConkey. Like the first game, when they opened in primetime Chiefs, right? You had a situation there where Quinshon Judkins starting to emerge as a wide receiver 1. Then you're getting Keenan Allen involved. You sort of go against what the defense thinks your tendency is in advance. And then you mentioned in a couple of the games since, the Chargers, I'm coming to you guys from Minneapolis, and people know the Vikings have had a biblical plague of injuries on their offensive line. The Chargers are sort of their counterpoint in the AFC, right? With all those offensive line injuries. And Dwayne, you're talking about Herbert getting pushed off his spot and it costing McConkey some opportunities. I think that's a function of that, because I saw a couple of those plays as well. Hopefully the Chargers can figure something out on the offensive line. Obviously, Jim Harbaugh is a guru. You never want to lose 2 top 10 tackles to injuries like they have. But yeah, I think Ladd McConkey is going to be just fine. And I think you think about like the rest of the season, if they can button up a little bit of the stuff on the offensive line. Yes, well, there are 2 other mouths to feed. And while Quinshon Judkins is so far, he looks like the wide receiver 1, NFL wide receiver 1, alpha boundary guy that I thought he was going to be coming into the league. He has started to show that. Keenan Allen, he's turned back the clock. But the Chargers are not putting the ball in the air a whole bunch more. Like, it shocked me their first couple of games, the way that they were playing offensive football, because I have so much exposure to Mr. Harbaugh and to Mr. Roman. Then they come out, it's like, when did they learn air raid? Like, Herbert's just back there just chucking it to, there's.
Don't you love it, though?
Oh, it's just two
coaches that have been so really like entrenched in a certain way of playing, and now they know they have Justin Herbert and these receivers, and they do the smart thing, to be honest, which is they're like, let's maximize these guys. I'm going to show some still shot here, Thor, because I took multiple still shots last night of Ladd McConkey. You can see this on your screen. Guys, look at this. Now, technically, I took this snapshot a tad late. You can see Herbert, the ball's in the air. He's going to Quinshon Judkins, but Ladd McConkey, look at this.
Yeah.
He's already wide open, guys. This is a potential touchdown. I'm going to go to the next play that I have here. Here he's got this linebacker matchup that I'm talking about. He's about to break wide open into this space. Herbert ends up getting pressured right here at the last second. Could have probably already let this ball rip. Make sure these are changing. Yep, they are. Here, he's coming across. He's open, but look at the gravitational pull of these 2 defenders respecting McConkey, like what Thor was talking about. Quinshon Judkins breaks wide open for a touchdown here. And that was obviously the right read for Herbert, but Ladd makes it possible. Here we are in another crossing route. You guys don't get to see it before, but he sets this whole thing up, and then he takes off again. Herbert scrambling to his right. Nearly ends up being the scramble drill, but he's going to be wide open on this play, guys, if Herbert throws this out there and leads him, which Herbert's a very accurate quarterback. He's throwing lasers this season. That's going to be a big play. Here we are again. He's got his man already. He cooks his man. He's got him in trail position. This ends up being another down the field pass on the backside of the play to Keenan Allen, who's also open. So again, just seeing these things doesn't guarantee it's all going to change for Ladd, because he has other good receivers on the team that are also getting open. But like, he's past his guy. You're throwing into a space over here where Ladd's going to have the angle here, and Herbert is fully capable of making that throw. Here we are again, dude. Look at the defender. Look at his feet. Ladd had this guy so twisted. Now Herbert's sacked now. Herbert has now been sacked. But Ladd's going to look, guys, this is probably a 15 to 25 yard gain that's about to happen for Ladd McConkey. And so when I say that Ladd McConkey actually could already be a top 12 wide receiver, these are the plays that I'm seeing. Like, here's one last one, Thor. Again, try to cover this man in man coverage. He sets you up underneath, and then he cooks this guy. Guys, this is like a step and a half of separation almost. In the NFL, 1 step is already considered open. He might extend this to 2 steps. This defender's going to have to go with Quinshon Judkins across. Herbert ends up going over here to Gadsden, who is wide open on this play. So again, other good players, they've got a good scheme working. But dude, this may not be a touchdown. This defender probably flips and maybe gets to Ladd, but there's a potential touchdown left on the table right there. So just plays all over the place where Ladd's doing his job is the main point. And he's not just doing it okay. He's doing it at a very, very high level. So like my gut on this, Thor, tends to be that, like, look, these things are going to even out. Like somebody from the Chargers passing offense is probably getting squeezed every week. But what I'm telling you is it's not going to be Ladd McConkey every week.
No, definitely not. Especially when coverage resources start to roll towards Quinton Johnson. That you're going to see that coming up, right? I mean, you have to, right? And once McConkey's in more advantageous ones, then the opportunities that Quinton Johnson, for instance, was getting those first couple of weeks. Now they're going to go to McConkey. He's going to be the one who's running free and they forget about him. So I think this is all good for McConkey. And the fact that it sets up a buy low window for people that didn't come out of a draft with him, I think that's all good too. I would explore that this week.
Yeah. So loving Ladd McConkey. What would you say? How would you value him, Thor, for the rest of the year for season-long fantasy players? Top 12 guy, top 24 guy, top 36 guy. Like what is your gut? Mine is like he's in that wide receiver 2 mix when the season's through.
I was gonna say like fringes at top 20 is probably where I would peg it. I'll say wide receiver 19 the rest of the way.
I love it. Look at him. Goes with a precise number for us.
Yeah.
So, all right. So we're going to move on to another player here, guys. We are actually going to move on to another running back, and that's going to be Quinshon Judkins. Okay. So I'm going to get the utilization pulled up over here for the Cleveland Browns. And we're just going to look at the last 2 games where really Judkins, look, week 3, guys, he was stepping off the plane. And the dude had a good role that week. But over the last 2 games, Thor, we've got Quinshon Judkins taking on 59% of the snaps for the Browns, 87% of the rushing attempts, guys, 19.5 carries per game. Not playing on the long down and distance, only 4%, 74% of those snaps are going to Mr. Jerome Ford. Jerome Ford also bogarting most of the 2-minute offense. Quinshon getting a little bit involved in the 2-minute offense, the 75% of that going to Mr. Jerome Ford. And so, like, looking at Quinshon, what are you seeing through these last 2? And by the way, guys, tough matchups. Like, it's not easy to the Lions, what you'll find with most of these teams that run the ball well, you know what they also do? They stop the run well. Like these are things these coaches want to do. They want to take away the run game. They're going to be committed to the run game. The drop back rate over expected in these games with Quinshon has dropped to -3%. Early in the season, the Browns were still in a pass heavy mode. They've changed the identity of the team. Also, you may want to layer in here, like, what are your thoughts on Dillon Gabriel and what the offense might look like? Is obviously it could be a bad thing. It's a rookie quarterback. We're already seeing that with Cam Ward, but maybe schematically with what Stefanski's doing, I don't know. Maybe the mobility of Dillon Gabriel could end up potentially being a positive thing. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, just starting with Judkins as an individual, he looked good in the first couple games, especially getting the late start to the season, and also you're running behind what has not been a good offensive line. And one metric to point to illustrating that he's top 10 right now in the NFL in yards after contact per attempt. I believe he's number 9. That's something that Cleveland's offense desperately needs this year. And you have defenses that are loading up for him as well. So I love that. My scouting report on him coming out, Judkins, 6 foot, a little over 220 pounds, 99th percentile size adjusted athlete was the stunning thing to us in the spring. But runs with short, choppy steps, has a herky-jerky style, creates indecision in downhill, defenders coming downhill. He can string together extremely sudden micro cuts, multiple of them. He's like kind of like a mirage for defenders that are coming downhill, because you can't tell exactly where he's going to go. And it's not like Barry Sanders agility, right? It's those little micro things. And it just sort of creates like this, like you're underwater trying to sort of gauge where he's going to go or whatever. And it creates a lot of off angle attempts that he can bounce off because he's got a really good center of gravity to him. The negative with Quinshon Judkins is I don't think he's ever going to be a pass down back. He has, I'll give him credit. His first, he's gotten 8 targets, I believe, in the pros so far. He's caught them all. But I believe his ADOT on those was negative 0.3 yards. because all Judkins will ever do in the NFL, it's all he's ever done. It's all he's ever going to do. He can do screens, swings, checkdowns, right? So it's stuff around the line of screen. He'll catch it, right? And he'll get you a couple yards. But yeah, not a dynamic receiver, not someone that's going to run routes for you down the field, and was never a good pass blocker in college. That was over 3 years. Ole Miss for 2 and then Ohio State for 1. I don't know if that ever develops. The thing with Jerome Ford coming in, that makes sense to me. And I think, Dylan Sampson, they drafted him to be the long-term guy with Judkins, being the passing down back. But as far as like the early down kind of meat and potatoes bell cow guy, he's going to get all kinds of work the rest of the season and for the next several years. That's sort of what he does. Coaches, the thing that his coaches, you go back to high school and then Lane Kiffin, and then of course last year with Ryan Day and Chip Kelly, everyone raves about his vision. Every coach that has coached Quinshon Judkins says that kid's got the best vision I've ever seen. So that helps as well, with sort of his play style. But yeah, Judkins is a good player and a nice little start for him.
Yeah, so I jotted down a few notes. I did watch all of Quinshon Judkins, all of his attempts as well as all of his targets. I didn't watch every single play, but just real quick, it's another player where a lot of the things you just said, the data actually aligns with it, right? And so when we look at his efficiency, yards per carry, 4.8, that ranks 15 out of 43. Yards after contact, 4.3, that's third out of 43. Guy is always falling forward was a note that I wrote down, Thor.
Yeah.
And he's not getting much help from the Browns offensive line right now, but I think that's going to be better when they get into some of these easier matchups. They played Green Bay. They played the Detroit Lions. These are teams that really are good against stopping the run, but he ranks 36 out of 43 backs with 0.6% of his, with 0.6 of his yards coming before contact. I think that number goes up as the season progresses. Missed tackles force right at the league average of 16%, a little below. Explosive rush rate over the league average. 10% of his carries have gone for 10 plus yards. And while he's not playing a lot on passing downs, when he's out there on first and second down, they are targeting him. He's got a target per route run of 22%. To your point, I did watch all of those targets. Most of them were play action to Judkins. He runs through the hole and turns around. No one else is open. Flacco throws it to him. He doesn't get anything after the catch on those plays, guys, but it's a really hard play for any running back. You're facing back to the quarterback with a linebacker coming downhill as soon as the ball's out of the hands. But what I did notice, Thor, was when they got the ball to him when he was moving laterally already in the pass game, those were the plays where now he's basically already a runner in the open field. So I do think there's some sneaky upside to your point. He was never a high-end receiving back in college. I don't think we should necessarily think he's going to turn into that at this level. The Browns have a really good defense though. So that helps keep when they're not playing juggernaut offenses. I think the Browns defense keep them in these games. My notes on the film, he's an attacker. He can be very decisive, but if he needs to slow it down and show patience, he can. He's actually, a lot of times you see a back that's either or. What I see with Quinshon Judkins is he can actually do both. And so really good at that first level because he'll press the hole and then he'll cut it outside. Second level, man, he's a punisher. When he gets to the second level, he is a punisher. He is you're not going to just bring him down with an arm tackle with an arm tackle from a solo guy. He's breaking that tackle. And he has the speed to get to the third level. I don't know that he has the long speed to break all these long plays, but he has the speed to definitely get to that third level of the field. Do have a play queued up here for Quinshon that we'll show really quickly. And Thor, I'll put it up. And if you want to give some commentary as we see it, just to kind of set up for you guys at home that are not watching, we've got shotgun here. Quinshon's lined up to the left of Flacco. We've got Fannin in motion. He's going to come back across. What you'll notice is how quickly Quinshon sees that block from Fannin and he gets to that edge. And he's just so decisive like that. I'm not showing you the highlights here, guys, of the long plays. It's just these little things like this that you consistently see him doing, whether it's an inside run or whether it's an outside run. Now you're getting the better view. This is the best view for running backs. We're showing, from behind the quarterback. Look at him. He waits for that block and bam, bounces it to the outside. His film is just littered with this stuff. It is just over and over again for Quinshon Judkins. So a guy that we both really like. Thor, anything you want to add there?
Yeah, he's just money in the bank with efficiency. You see the vision right there. That's not where the concept was going, but the lateral quickness. He sees
and how quick he attacks it.
Bam. Yeah, he's out of there. That little jump cut, get lateral, and then he's got the acceleration to get out of there. He's a guy ran 4.48 at the combine. 38.5-inch vertical, was top 5 at the running back position, speaking to the explosion, as did his running back leading 11-foot broad jump at the NFL combine. But yeah, that stuff in conjunction with the vision, the feel, and then you have these athletic traits, and he's a tackle breaker as well. Like you mentioned, he'll bring the lunge pail, gets into the second level. So those things working in conjunction with each other, as far as just a pure carrier of the ball, he was one of the best ones we had in college football like the last several years.
Yeah, so Quinshon, I've got him inside my top 20 the rest of the way. I couldn't move him like way higher than that just because like he's not getting the passing down work.
Yeah. Oh, and yeah.
Yeah. Any thoughts though on Dylan Gabriel? Because Joe Flacco has now been benched. We are moving into the Dylan Gabriel era. Obviously a lot of unknowns with Dylan Gabriel as a passer and what it means for the Browns offense. It could be bad, but like schematically, do you think there's anything they can do with Dylan Gabriel that might actually be a positive for Quinshon Judkins?
Yeah, they should alter their system a little bit. And if they do it effectively, I think Dylan Gabriel could have at least a little bit of six, more than Joe Flacco and his 2-6 TDI and T rate. But with Gabriel, the comp that's perfect, it's poor man's Tua. Dylan Gabriel, he's a small left-hander from Hawaii. And it's a lot of the same things he sees as Tua does well in his game, sees the field well, gets rid of the ball quick, throws an accurate ball, understands coverage looks, and that helps him make sort of the decisive decisions there. And if you don't stretch his arm beyond its means, he's going to put the ball on someone's hands. You think of like Tua, both at Alabama and then with Miami, his ability to lead receivers into space. You have the explosive receivers there. Cleveland does not have the most explosive receivers, but stuff within 10 yards of the line of scrimmage, the paper cut stuff, Gabriel's going to, he's going to denote the coverage look pre-snap. He's also not, I think, going to be nearly as susceptible as most young quarterbacks to getting fooled after the snap. Something to keep an eye on this coming weekend when Dylan Gabriel takes on the Minnesota Vikings, because Brian Flores, the defensive coordinator there, he changes the post-snap look as dramatically as any defensive coordinator that we have in the NFL. So that's going to be interesting. But on the other side with the Browns, what they're going to be looking to do is exactly what the Steelers did to the Vikings last Sunday in Ireland, just the paper cut stuff. And that's what Gabriel's good at. You get your hot guy, get your hot read or whatever when the blitz is coming, because Flores blitzes all the time, and get it out of there and put it on his hands. And then you might get yourself a yak opportunity like DK Metcalf's long touchdown last week. So that's what Gabriel's going to do. As far as him playing with Judkins, I'm not sure how much it changes because the defenses now don't have to be quite as concerned deep until Gabriel proves that he can win deep in the NFL. And he was actually, I will say, even for a guy with a kind of a middling arm, he actually was a really good deep ball thrower in college at multiple different stops. He's basically like, you can think of him as like 92% of Russell Wilson in that regard. It's the same thing where it's like, recognize the one-on-one situation. He makes a decision right away, just like, Russ used to do. And then it's throwing your entire body weight to try to throw the rainbow ball. And Gabriel at Oregon, he would get rid of it quicker than most quarterbacks that are trying to throw 50 yards downfield and then just throw the big rainbow and let someone run under it.
Yeah.
Will that work in the NFL? I can say that he will know when the one-on-one coverage is. He is not going to put the ball up for grabs into double coverage, but will, the arm strength thing work. But hopefully he can prove that to open up a little bit of space for Judkins as well. But the passing efficiency within 10 yards, I'm pretty confident that is going to go up for the Browns with Dylan Gabriel behind center.
Yeah. And I think some of the moving around things they can do with Gabriel, the waggles, just the different things that they can create to basically create looks that are very the same as their run play, and the defense doesn't know necessarily, especially on 1st down and 10 and obvious downs like 2nd and 3 where you don't know, like, is a run or a pass coming. There's some good things that could potentially help out, Judkins a little bit. But yeah, I'm with you. So quick call here. You have to choose between Quinshon Judkins and the other running back we've covered so far, Woody Marks, rest of the way. Which one you got?
I'm going to go Judkins by a hair. So I'll say Judkins.
I'm with you.
I'll say running back 16 the rest of the season. I think I had Marks at 19.
There we go. Yeah. Love it. So, two guys you're happy to have on your fantasy teams, guys, because you're getting running back 2 performances from them, and they can spike, as we've seen with both of them already, for running back top 12 performances. So we're going to move on to a wide receiver. We're going to go to Mr. Tetairoa McMillan. T-Mac, as he likes to be called, does not want to be called Tet. He is T-Mac. So look, that looks really good. Like what I saw, just real quick on the data side, you guys can see here in the utilization report, he's got a utilization score of 72, guys, which historically has been a wide receiver 2. He's performing as a wide receiver 3 right now with 11.5 fantasy points per game. He's got a 25% target share, leading the team. 1.85 yards per route run. That's below the 2 that we really like to see, but he's playing with a quarterback that's really struggling. And we've seen that hold other guys down before in their career, so I wouldn't be too quick to judge. Average depth of target, 11.5, which is honestly that sweet spot, because what it's showing you is they're working the underneath stuff, they're working the intermediate stuff, and they still get deep shots. And when you watch Tet McMillan on film, he is getting all those things. Here was a very interesting thing for me, Thor, when I pulled up Tet's underlying data points. Man coverage, this man is getting 43% of the targets right now for the Carolina Panthers. And I will tell you, watching the film, they're willing to try to challenge him early in his career. He has faced as much press man coverage as anyone in the NFL. And here's what I'll say, 5.2 yards per route run. It's a small sample, guys, but like he's winning right now against man. But when you watch him, he's not like this massive separator from these guys. It's often tight coverage, but he has such a big frame. He has such a good set of hands. He snares the ball away from his body. You know, like after watching him, you know, look, it's tough to watch anyone after you watch Ladd just from a route running and the way they set all these things up. They're different players. So, I mean, he rounds his edges a little bit on his dig routes. You know, his pacing is not like Ladd's where he kind of knows where to throttle up and down yet. Like some of it's still kind of like this one continuous speed thing. So I feel like he's still got things to learn, but those are things that can be typical, right? For someone coming into the league that maybe didn't get all that coaching where their athleticism was just enough. Like just go out there and run the route basically at full speed and like you're going to win in college. In the NFL, because everyone's so much faster, like you do have to use your mind more, right? And you have to manipulate the defender. So I think there's room, honestly, for improvement there. So I think that's a good place to start. Like based on what you saw from the film so far for Tet and what you saw in college, just how do you think he's performing? And do you think there's an opportunity that like really he takes his game to another level in his rookie season?
Yeah, I do think that's coming for sure. Yeah, and early on, I haven't been surprised with what I've seen, including opponents trying to press him off the line. It was one of my few critiques of McMillan coming into the NFL was he needed to work on his release package because he is a north-south mover athlete as opposed to an east-west one. And off the line, I saw him a lot of times go right into the hands or the arms of the guy who was trying to press him, and that allowed in college McMillan to get funneled where the defensive back wanted him to, sometimes. So, continuing to work on that. What you said about the man coverage and stuff like that was interesting to me as well. You look at his metrics in college against zone coverage. McMillan was charted as open on 94.3% of his targets at Arizona last year. Against man, that plummeted all the way to 53.6%. That was 39th percentile in single coverage. I comped Tet McMillan to Drake London, a guy who had a very similar ethos playing out there on the West Coast in college. He didn't like against man coverage, single man coverage. He wanted to feel the defender by him because both these guys, their superpower is their ball skills, their catch radiuses, their frame, their concentration, seeing the ball in downtown. Tet McMillan, he doesn't care if he's going to make you go through his back, and he doesn't care if you try. You are not going to break his concentration. There's a lot of young receivers in the last class. I could toss out a bunch of names, guys, where if you jar them at the catch point, it's like, it's like you've tased them, right? And like balls will just clank off their hands or whatever. McMillan is not like that. You look at the contested catch work, 19 of 31 in contested situations last year at Arizona for Tet McMillan. That was the second most contested catches in the class. He was also the second most contested catches in the class the year before. So this is something he's done for a long time. And funny enough, the quarterback that he worked with at Arizona would be sort of the college football version of Bryce Young. Noah Fafita, he's like a little scrambler guy, and when he ran out of time, he just chuck it up to McMillan. It was sort of like when you see Johnny Football with Mike Evans way back in the day at Texas A&M. Mike Evans is the reason that Johnny Football was a first-round pick, is he just going sky and, rebound balls, basically. Bryce Young, obviously he's going to like that with McMillan as well. Hopefully Bryce Young can improve a little bit. But to your point, Dwayne, I like the sort of diversified way. We've seen them use him in multiple different ways. And you can manufacture McMillan's touches shorter than downfield. He's the downfield killer, of course, but you can move the chains with him. One thing that Arizona liked to do would be when, 3rd and 8, say, move McMillan into the slot, and then they love to do like the slants and the crossers and stuff, just get past the sticks, and Fafita's going to try to, bullet the ball in there, even if there's 3 guys on you, was basically what the defense knew it was coming too. It's just really difficult to stop him when he gets on the straight line path. Because again, if you go through his back, we're getting the first down, and if you don't, he's catching the ball. As long as it's anywhere close to him, he has the catch radius of an Indian god, and and he catches everything within it. So exciting times for Ted McMillan, T-Mac McMillan. I know I'm not supposed to
catch radius of an Indian god. Only Thor Nystrom could come up with such fantastic words to describe a player. A couple quick things, like just listening to you talk there, and we'll show a couple of clips here from T-Mac, sorry, Tet. T-Mac, Tetairoa McMillan. Looking at him and what he did in college against zone, that's also encouraging, because right now the thing that's held him back so far is only a 21% targets per route run against zone. And so is mostly just basically when he gets man coverage, they're going to him. He has a 50% target share versus man, a 43% targets per route run versus man this season. Just the idea that really he was so strong against zone in college, and that's another opportunity that it could just be a small sample where it just hasn't shown up yet for Tet. I'm going to go ahead and move a play over onto the screen, though. The ball does not go to Tet McMillan here. Sorry, T-Mac. Dude, I keep screwing it up, Thor. Just slap me virtually. So you guys are going to see him lined up to the top of your screen here, kind of in a tight formation. And Thor, again, feel free to add comments here. He's got off-man coverage here, and I'm just going to go ahead and hit the play. Watch the little double move. Bryce Young is not going to see this, but this is a touchdown. That's a touchdown.
Move to
when Bryce gets pressured, to be fair, Bryce ends up, getting, nearly getting sacked, and he has to get rid of the ball. So that's a big one. I've got another one here. I'm going to scroll down to, I've got one, and go ahead, comment on what you just saw there, Thor, while I go to the next play, because I've got one here against the Cardinals that I also want to show.
Yeah, that first one, that's probably something in the film room that, Bryce, come on, man. And I think as time goes on, and Bryce Young, not only working with him experientially, like on the field with the ball is fine, but also the ability to go back and watch the tape. Bryce Young, he's getting a confirmation of, maybe you should be looking at T-Mac a little bit more. And that being a great example where he just blows by the dude, and you don't have help back there. If the defense is not going to provide help behind the cornerback on Ted McMillan, wait out your read on that one. Because if he's going deep, to me, it's just chuck it up. I mean, that's how he is downfield. And that's
he has that guy cooked.
1,000%. That one's a freebie, right? But even just in general, the rule for me would be one-on-one coverage downtown.
Go.
Chuck it up. That's what it is.
So here's another play for you guys listening on the podcast. We got Tet McMillan lined up to the bottom. Look at me being a play-by-play announcer. Yeah, Tet McMillan lined up to the bottom of your screen. He's seeing press coverage here, Thor. Let's see if Bryce Young decides to go to him here. We're under center, and we've got the snap of the ball, which you've got right here. Notice Tet gets that release to the inside, which is what he wants. He gets the free release off the line of scrimmage, and look at him throttle down. Now he does not get the target again, but look at this.
Yeah,
look at the separation that he has here. I get it. This is a throw you're going to have to put over 27, but that's a throw that Bryce Young needs to make. And look what we're doing. We're checking down to the running back. Bryce is just getting away, and this is not clear pressure yet. Like, I get it. You may feel like there's a little bit of pressure here, but I mean, they've got this guy double teamed right now. You already know, Thor.
Yeah.
If you're Bryce Young, you're already letting this ball rip.
Yeah.
Like, maybe you can't see him. Maybe it's a height thing, but look at that. Like, and his film is littered with this stuff. guys trying to press him getting the free release off the line of scrimmage, and, he's showing the break. Dude, he runs a really, he gets a lot of his targets come on these dig routes. What I've also seen him do, where I'm not going to pull up another film one on this one, guys, because we've got other players to get to. But drop it in the comments if you like the film breakdowns. Again, we'll see if we get to leave this up. But he will use that dig route, and he'll give that fake head move to the dig, and then he'll hit the out route. And so he knows like what his bread and butter play is. It is the dig route so far this season. Also used a lot on comebacks and hitches. Seen him spin out Michael Irvin style. Seen him come back for that comeback down the sideline, and then fake inside and spin back out of it down the sideline to gain another 7 or 8 yards after the catch. Also very strong after the catch. But man, just he knows that people know he's going to run that dig, and he will use it to set up the out route as well. So I think that's a cerebral thing, right, that we're seeing with McMillan that I really like.
Yeah, and those are great points, Dwayne. Like because he got nitpicked a lot. T-Mac did during his pre-draft process about that lack of separation thing. But he's explained this, that on a lot of the route concepts, he wants,
he's open here.
Exactly. But he didn't get credit for the times where he's actively trying to get separation. A lot of times he did, right? Like he doesn't have joystick agility or anything, but he does do a good job of sort of putting himself in the defender's point of view of like, where does this guy think I'm going to go? And then give him just a little bit of cheese. And maybe go somewhere else, right? Like, something from earlier in the game that you're set it up. Now we're going to play against that and use that to get some separation. And then I also like the point that you made about his yak, because I didn't think he got enough credit for that during his pre-draft process. That's the thing where you're sending him intermediate across the field, try to hit him on the hands. But Tet is one of those guys that, there's receivers that need to, the ball hits their hands, got to see it in. Then we have, it's all mechanical, and now we got to tuck it away. Now we're gonna, it's like da 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 da, and just the little, beat of a second in there that allows defenders to set up better, to make a play on them. Whereas receivers like Ted McMillan, he trusts his hands so much, there's no wasted motion there, right? He just trusts it's gonna come in, right? He's already turned up field then. So it's just really smooth, the conversion from receiver to then upfield to the runner. And he has underrated acceleration as well, because he's kind of a long strider. So you don't really think of it like that. But yeah, just very seamless, catching the ball, turning upfield, and he can sort of squirt up there and create some of these yak opportunities.
Funny question for you, but I believe this. Like, I think Tet McMillan, and I don't know that the Panthers will do this. They've got to get a full evaluation on Bryce Young, because what are they doing next year in the draft? But I'll be honest, like, I think even with Andy Dalton under center, like he's a high-end wide receiver too. Just because Dalton, while he's not great, he's going to trust those things from Tet, and Dalton's shown that he'll drive the ball into good wide receivers. 100%. And he did it last week. He came in to close out the game right away, like a 20-plus yarder to Tet McMillan down the field. I mean, just freaking let it rip. So I don't know that we'll see that. So I guess the thing we have to answer for fantasy managers here is knowing that it is Bryce Young. Now, there can come a point, guys, even though they need to evaluate Bryce Young, that if all the players on the team know Andy Dalton's better than Bryce Young, you can lose a locker room as a coach. And so you could be forced into actually looking at Andy Dalton, even though I know the GM is going to be yelling at the coach saying, no, we need to continue to play Bryce Young. There could be a point where we see Andy Dalton. Let's assume we don't. We're going to live in this world of Bryce Young, for the rest of the season. Can Tet McMillan right now, averaging 11.5 fantasy points per game, guys, his utilization scores is 72. It already says he should be a wide receiver too. If you look at his historical comps, it says that Tet McMillan should be like a mid-range to low-end wide receiver too. We're getting a borderline mid-range wide receiver 3 performance out of him right now in fantasy points per game. He ranks number 33 right now with 11.5 per contest. Can he climb higher with Bryce Young, or is it just too much to overcome?
No, I think he can. And I kind of see it different where I think Bryce Young,
great.
Yeah, understanding where he is at in his career, Bryce Young can't have the team pull the plug on him again. Well, maybe something that would help is learning who your bread is buttered by here. Like Ted McMillan is going to help you take the next step as a quarterback, because he turns a lot of off target balls or balls that should be incomplete.
And to be fair, I don't want to totally trash him, because he is targeting him. But
yeah,
like he could be, he's at a 25% target share. He could be like 32.
Oh yeah, it's going to be more because he's going to see these missed opportunities on film, and Bryce Young attempting to keep his job and then hopefully, up his career, whatever. Like you're going to be going to McMillan more going forward, I think.
So where do you place Tet the rest of the way? The Thor call.
What is he right now?
Well, right now he's a wide receiver 3. He's the mid-range wide. He's the wide receiver 33 overall in fantasy football right now.
I'm going to say rest of the season. I'm going to say wide receiver 23.
Okay. So I'm going to look real quick right now. I'm looking at Carolina, Tet McMillan accounting for, everything that, we can account for in the rest of season projections, which is I've got Bryce Young still playing all the games just like you do. He comes out still, guys, as the wide receiver 17 in our rest of season projections, which is using
conservative.
It's using and guys, I'm accounting for Bryce Young. I've got Bryce Young projected for less than 200 yards per game passing. So we've got a sober mind about what Bryce Young looks like at this point in his career. We could up that if Bryce Young starts to play better, but right now we're playing it pretty close to the vest with Bryce Young as a passer. But it's just that Ted is already demanding volume, and to your point, I think there's more potential volume on the bone here for Tet McMillan. So I think we're both in agreement. Tet McMillan, if you can get him at a wide receiver 3 price tag, and the utilization score says the same thing. It says more 65% of the time you're going to win that trade. As far as the number of times you're going to end up with a wide receiver 2 instead of a wide receiver 3. So now, Thor, let's go to Kendall Valenzuela's favorite player on the planet.
Yeah.
And that's Mr. Cam Skattebo. Man, talk about a guy. I can't say that like he's the best player, but he's one of the most fun players to watch. When I watch Cam Skattebo, and if you look at him over these last 2 games, since we had the shoulder injury to Tyrone Tracy, which we still don't have a timeline on, guys. He's not on IR though. He's questionable for this week. 68% of the snaps over these last 2 games, 56% of the rushing attempts. Guys, it's really higher than that, but Jackson Dart is massively involved in this ground game. Jackson Dart had 18% of the design rushing attempps. That's like Justin Fields, Josh Allen levels, right? So, I mean, Brian Dable loves that.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
It's definitely going to continue. I mean, Dable has, the stuff baked into his system, but also Dart at Ole Miss, it was, the nitpick on his evaluation, it was the one read thing. And then when the first read was gone, sometimes he'd get to the second, but certainly then he would tuck and run if that was gone. Sometimes he would tuck and run when the first one wasn't available to him. So you're going to,
he scrambled 11%. Jackson Dart comes out. Now he lost Neighbors. I know we're talking about Skattebo here, but Jackson Dart still comes out as a top 16 quarterback the rest of the way. And his ceiling outcome is like top 8 because he has outs in the run game and the pass game. Now I've got him projected for like 192 passing yards per game the rest of the way. He threw for 111 in a massive leading script last week, guys. He could come up a little bit under that. I may end up having to take it down. But the point being, I'm not being aggressive with his passing. And I didn't give him he doesn't have a ton of passing touchdowns. He doesn't have the weapons, but he just runs so much that, man, Jackson Dart is still someone I still love in fantasy, even without Malik Neighbors. So quick on Skattebo here, just the thing, that we have, he's obviously taken over the rush workload. Last week had 75% of the rushing attempts. Targets per route run, 24%, Thor. That's elite. That is very high-end stuff. 22% target share on the season. He's staying on the field in the 2-minute offense. He's getting the long down and distance work because this dude can take on blitzing linebackers on 3rd and long. Inside the 5, he's handled 80% of their rushing attempts. He's got 67% of their short yardage work. And I'll just say real quick on from a fantasy perspective, guys, the 2 things that are the most valuable opportunities, and they bake into utilization score, is the carries inside the 5 and targets. Those 2 things unlock massive upside. And the guy's averaging 18.6 fantasy points over the last 2 games as the starter. So 2 questions for you. Number 1, what are you seeing with Cam Skattebo? I got so lost in the McConkey vortex, I didn't get to watch much of Skattebo. I let it play, but I didn't jot down a bunch of notes. So we're going to lean into you here, Thor. But that's the first question. What are you seeing with Skattebo? And what are the things you like? What are some things maybe you're not liking? And I think the real question fantasy managers have is, once Tyrone Tracy is good, does Skattebo just already have a stranglehold on this backfield, or you think it turns back into more of a 2-way split?
I think to the latter one, I think it's going to skew towards Skattebo. But I do Tracy's gonna, he's gonna seize, some of the ancillary work. Maybe it'd be 2/3, 1/3, like more, maybe something more like that. But what are we seeing for Skattebo? So he's doing Cam Skattebo things. I mean, like he's a little berserker. He's all-time bowling ball build. And tackling that guy, it's like putting that bowling ball into a jugs machine and trying to catch it. That guy does not care. All-time physical, kind of.
He doesn't give AF, as the kids like to say.
He's trying to run right through your chin strap. Like it's a guy that seeks out contact and seems to relish it. He's a guy that will drag people with him. We're not going to see that quite as much in the NFL as we did in the Big 12, but he'll drag defenders. You love the punishment that he gives out. Overall, though, it's an efficiency player. It's a guy you can give the ball between the tackles. He's going to grind the yards out for you. He's going to break tackles for you. And then you can give him a heavy workload as a receiver, too. Arizona State did. And it's the same sort of thing. You try to get him the ball in space, and then he goes berserker, and he breaks tackles. And, you're going to get you 5 or 6 yards. But last year at Arizona State, he finished number 2 on the team in receptions behind, by the way, the guy who will easily be the highest drafted wide receiver this coming April, Jordan Tyson. For Arizona State market, he's wide receiver 1 in the 2026 class. He was clearly wide receiver 1 on that team. But Skattebo also led the 2025 running back class in yards per route run, running back position 1.92. He's not a dynamic route runner, but he is going to catch the ball, and he is going to manufacture yards after that, because he's the first guy he's going to run over. Or he's going to evade them, or he's going to break a tackle.
Or defenders in the flat, like these DBs. Skattebo catches the ball. It's a nightmare, man.
I don't know how long Skattebo can play like this before his body betrays him, but it's going to be a fun ride as long as we got him.
Yeah, so real quick, like a lot of the underlying efficiency data points match up with what Thor's talking about here. And I think a big takeaway here with what Thor's mentioning, and it showed up in the rookie supermodel as well over at Fantasy Life, where we look at the traits that in college best translate to future fantasy points in the NFL. And Skattebo in the pre-draft process before we put draft capital in, which obviously matters a lot, like just was off the charts, guys, like just such a productive player at all phases of the game. But what we're seeing in the efficiency department, 3.8 yards per carry, that's 29 of 43. It's a little bit of a lackluster offense, but the gravitational pull of Dart could end up helping a few things there. But man, when you look at his yards before contact, he's not getting much help. And maybe that is something where Jackson Dart does help, as teams have to respect like him pulling that ball and keeping it, Thor. A lot of these RPO type plays where they've got a wide receiver sitting in the flat, and then basically, Dart has 3 options. Does he hand it to Skattebo? Does he keep it? Or does he hit that little quick hitter? That could be a positive, but only 0.78 yards before contact, which is 32 out of 43 qualifiers. But man, missed tackles force, 24% per PFF. That's 13 out of the 43 qualifying running backs, well above the NFL average of 17%. Explosive play rate right there with Judkins, 10.4%, 22 out of 43. And then the big thing back to the receiving stuff, man, targets per route run, 23%. We mentioned it earlier. That is a really, really good mark. So a guy that can do it in all phases of the game. When I look at Skattebo right now in my rest of season projections, Thor, I'm scrolling down for it on the Giants. And again, you guys can see all of this stuff on Fantasy Life under the projection tool. Just switch from week 5 to season, and those are rest of season projections. Of course, we already mentioned where you can see it in the trade analyzer as well, and some of the other tools. Our Fantasy HQ, you can see it also. So looking at Skattebo rest of season projection right now, I have him as the running back 21. So I have a little bit of a hedge to when Tracy gets back, taking on, some of the work. Like we have to try to account for these things. Just this week, guys, if you go look at Skattebo, he's like my running back 10 for the week, because we know he's probably locked into this full role. But this is forecasting Tyrone Tracy returning next week, and then that having a slight impact. But still, I'm with Thor. I think he keeps 55%ish, I think is what I have him at right here. Yeah, I do. I have him at 55% of the rush share for the season. And I've got him right around that on his snap share as well, and continuing to be the primary guy in the 2-minute offense. And so, yeah, that gives you a top 24 running back the rest of the way. What are your thoughts, Thor?
Yeah, it's again, going back to the efficiency thing, it's a team that's going to accept a higher floor per play in exchange for the ceiling of the explosive plays. Right. Like the yards per carry, his are Skattebo is never going to be propped up by an explosive run or two. Because he's going to get caught from behind. It's the biggest knock on his evaluation. Ran a 4.6 or high 4.5s. It was something like that. But foot speed on film is not good. You've seen him get chased down from behind multiple times in the Big 12, and he ain't running away from anyone in the NFL. But again, the ability to every single time generate the 3, 4, 5, 6 yards, that's something that the Giants offense in particular this season, when their offense stinks and now they've lost Neighbors and now you have the rookie quarterback, I think they're going to greatly value the guy where every time we give this guy the ball, we can basically bank on 4 or 5 yards. That's something that your young quarterback could use. Here's a note from my scouting report on him coming out, Dwayne. Skattebo presents a complex problem for defenders trying to tackle him one-on-one in space. He has quick feet and can change directions suddenly with the hard cut. You also can't get lower than him when he goes into his battering ram routine and loads up behind his shoulder pads. He's a tackle breaking machine who finished number 2 in the FBS behind Ashton Genty last year in forced missed tackles. So it's a guy in the short area in the phone booth. That's he has the one cut thing. He can be, the evasion there. And creating off angle attempts that then he breaks. And then, you have that other stuff of just going into the battery ram mode.
Yeah. So I've got the trade analyzer up for those of you that can't see it. I've just got Woody marks here. You see the J mark for, is it Jaquavian? Am I saying that right? Jaquavius. I prefer Woody. Really love the Woody. And I love all the Woody memes as well from Toy Story. Yeah. But here we've got it versus Skattebo, and it is a slight lean to Skattebo right now. Yeah. So again, a little more. You got Chubb, and then you got Tracy. So like both of them, I don't know that either one of them is like a 70% snap guy. The rest of the way. I'll go ahead and take Marks out of this, and I will add in Judkins, who we talked about earlier. And you can see, guys, now you get a slight lean over here to the side with Judkins at the 178. 54% of the time, if this were a trade, it would go to the Judkins side. But notice, that's not like, we're not saying like this is a slam dunk that it's Judkins over Skattebo. Like these are pretty close calls, even with Woody Marks. So the rest of the season projections do have this ordered as Quinshon Judkins, then Cam Skattebo, then Woody Marks. Any different order there for you? And they're really close, guys. They're all in like this low to mid-range running back 2 territory.
Yeah, they're in the same tier. I would have Judkins, Marks, Skattebo, but okay. I mean, they're all close. It's splitting hairs.
All right, love it. So, all right, guys, we've got 2 more players. We're going to go a little more rapid fire here for you. Let's talk about a wide receiver. I don't know. I don't think we can say pour one out for him at this point, Thor, but definitely drafters shredding us. Yeah, shredding. They are shedding some tears for sure. Hopefully you don't have anger management problems and you're like shredding something. But Travis Hunter for the Jaguars. Like, there's just no way around this right now from a fantasy perspective. He's absolutely bombing. And the thing is, man, like they're doing scheme stuff that we kind of hoped that he would get. In this offense, some things that we saw from, the Buccaneers with Liam Cohen, playing from the slot 68% of the time, in motion 22% of the time. Guys, that's a really good number. And motion is a cheat code for wide receivers. You score more fantasy points on your routes with motion than without. And play action is another cheat code. 24% of his targets, the most targets on the team that have come from play action. And then 19% of his targets have been on screen. So they are trying to design stuff for him. But it's just not working yet, Thor. I mean, he leads the team in targets per route run at 20%, but he's only playing 68% of the pass plays because he has defensive duties as well. And even when he's got one good play that I watched, to be honest, like as far as him with the ball in his hands, which is where I really expected more electricity. I saw some good plays from him, but he's just kind of lost in the shuffle right now in Jacksonville. 6.2 fantasy points per game. He's got a utilization score of 42, which is not good. That's really a boom bust wide receiver 4 territory, looking at his historical comps. So what are you seeing with Travis Hunter? Any hope here for what this looks like for the rest of the season for guys that drafted him in like round 6 of their fantasy draft?
Well, I appreciate this exercise because I got to watch all Travis Hunter's routes, whereas, in the moment, you just see, he had a bad game or whatever. Yeah. And it was pretty fascinating to watch it. I'm going to be curious your thoughts, but my thoughts after watching all of his routes run this year, I don't love the way that Jacksonville is using him. Now, I agree, the motion stuff, you saw them attempting to manufacture touches for him, the quick hitter stuff, the funnel screen stuff right after the snap, and so concede that. But it's a lot of it is closer to the line of scrimmage, using him as, essentially a manufactured touch slot. That's not what he is. He is fabulous down the field, and I don't believe they are using him down the field enough. You see the coaching staff being like, we want to get Travis involved. We want to get Travis involved. I don't think this is the way to do it. I think Travis Hunter should be used both for the explosive plays that he generates because of his ball skills down the field, but also for the ability then to create spacing for Brian Thomas, who has also been struggling, right? And the other ancillary receiver and the running game, right? When Travis Hunter starts doing his thing downtown, I think it changes. So far this season, I had to look it up because after I watched the film, like, that's not the way he was used at Colorado. It was like, we'll just have Shadir turn to the left and just throw it to you right after the snap. It was downfield stuff. I was curious, went and looked at the A dot. I believe it's 7.5.
Yep, 7.5.
Travis Hunter in 3 college seasons, he was never under 10 for an A dot. 12.6 was his career high, 10.6 last year. But and that includes,
they're playing him in the Chris Godwin role. That's what they're doing. This is also the Rashee Rice role in Kansas City. But so, I mean, I think there are positives to it and it could still turn around, but that was kind of my gut too, is what you're saying is I'm like you're really limiting this guy. And then they asked Liam Cohen about it this last week, Thor. And because they've had injuries as well, like to the wide receiver room, you had Diami Brown out last week. He's questionable again this week. And they said, hey, with these injuries, does Travis get to play a more versatile role? And he said, no. He said, we're keeping him in this role for his rookie season.
It's dumb. Like, Liam Cohen, you have a system, but you need to amplify your players' skill sets, right? Like, it's not your players adapt to your scheme. It's you adapt the scheme to your players. And I don't think like I said, I don't think he's using Travis Hunter correctly yet. Here's some stuff from my notes, Dwayne. Watch.
Yeah, let's hear it. Roll with it.
Didn't love the way the Jags were using him on offense. The best thing about Hunter's game, breakneck route, unreal ball skills downfield. The Jags are using him like a Deebo Samuel type, right? A Godwin or a Rice. Simplified route concepts, funnel screens, quick hits, etc. Need to get Hunter running routes downfield to stretch the defense, fling up the ball when he's one-on-one. This would also open up space for Brian Thomas Jr. Another note I had in there, which, it was just interesting watching him through. Now, I only watched the routes run for Travis Hunter, but you get a really good idea. Trevor Lawrence, boy, does he lock on to receivers. I so rarely saw him move his head whatsoever. It was like the dude he's throwing to, that's where it was going. I had in here chuck multiple balls to Hunter when he was not open, simply because he was clearly the first read on that concept. Saw other plays where Hunter was open, but Lawrence didn't go to him because he had locked into a different first read, and he just didn't denote that someone else was open. Here's this from my scouting report of Travis Hunter coming out. If you were to put any trait against Hunter's ball skills, which are fabulous, it would be his ability to maintain top speed in and out of cuts. It's so fast that it tricks your eyes. This is why you can't. It's why he's so dang hard to stick with as a receiver. It's like trying to mirror the movements of a hummingbird. He doesn't slow down in and out of cuts. It's all just breakneck, and so it just becomes so difficult once you're out in space. But you have to be downfield for this to manifest. And so that's on the route running side. But then
Thor, real quick on the route running side, like, was he dominant against man coverage in college? Because so far this year, they've targeted him 7% of the time that he's run a route against man. His targets are all coming against zone. 25% targets per route run against zone. Only a 7% target share against, or 7% targets per route run against man.
And I wonder if that's baked in of like Lawrence. You see them drop. He's the hot read here, where you're just going to turn your left and fling the ball into. I wonder if that's what is sort of informing that. But yeah, like I don't understand, I can't judge him for that metric right now because I watched his film and they weren't sending him on routes downfield. So how is he going to, exert what the best part of his game is and lick someone downfield if they're not sending him there? Just a couple of times I saw him 20 plus yards down the field. I think he made up, one play there. But the thing with him downfield, so this is what I wanted to talk about. Travis Hunter, his wingspan is only 1 inch south of Tetairoa McMillan's. Travis Hunter has ridiculously long arms and a deceivingly big catch radius, which then he makes very good use of. Hunter, I called him a contested catch virtuoso. Last season, he was 11 for 18 in contested situations, 5 of 10, 20 plus yards downfield. You saw him go up there and moss some guys. And then on balls thrown 20 plus yards downfield as well. Hunter posted a perfect 99.9 PFF grade, 15.44 yards per route run. You have to let him do stuff downfield. And Colorado manufactured him touches as well. We saw Hunter win at all 3 levels. I'm not saying that you can't do that, period. But what I'm saying is the best part of his receiving game is 15 plus yards downfield, beating someone on a route. You get him in one-on-one coverage. And then you can throw it up to him because of that catch radius and how good he is contorting his body and adjusting to the ball and everything like that. The ball skills is his thing. So don't take it away from him by just forcing him the ball behind the line of scrimmage is what I would tell Lee and Cohen.
Yeah. Yeah. So he's a tricky one the rest of the season because I think you and I are probably both in agreement that we are not giving up on the talent profile.
No.
We think this is a very good player.
Yeah.
We think this is a player that could definitely take a step forward. The challenge is they're going to play him on defense. And we've already had the head coach come out and say, no, this is his role for his rookie season. Now, guys, things can change, but usually coaches are not that definitive. The way Liam Cohen made that statement is very concerning to me, Thor.
Yeah.
So what I want to say about Travis Hunter is this, I want to keep him on my rosters. I want to keep him there, but I had no choice after 4 games and the rhetoric from the coach, the way that he's getting used, all these different things. I had to move him down rest of season projections. I had to. And so now he's down in that area of wide receiver 60, just because there's so many factors. Now, again, I'm not saying to go again. I don't want you to cut Travis Hunter. Coaches can change their mind when things are not working. Like right now, honestly, the Jaguars are kind of winning these games and they're not really playing great. They're pretty dysfunctional. Like Travis Etienne is the best part of their offense right now, and he's made some explosive plays for them. So I do. It's funny. You can say these things as a coach, but then imagine if the Jaguars were 1-3 right now. And this was what you were getting out of Travis Hunter, the fan base would be going bananas. And my gut tells me is the Jaguars they're not going to be 6-1 when we get to 7 games in. They're going to lose some games because T-Law, I saw the same thing. T-Law's playing like crap. I'm sorry. Yeah. T-Law does not look good.
He might as well have a neck brace on. He never moves it his head one way or the other. It's just, it's crazy. If I was a deep safety, you know where the ball's going right after the snap. So,
oh man. Yeah. So look, I had to downgrade him, guys. So it's this fine line of the way I think about things for the rest of the year, but there's just enough things that I feel like I had to move him until we see something different. So the way I would describe Travis Hunter to you is if you drafted him, he's a hold. Now, if for some reason you had a guy like Woody Marks or whoever last week that was available and you had to cut Hunter, you got to do what you got to do. You guys know what you have to do in your leagues, but a lot of you are playing in leagues where that kind of stuff's just not available to you. There's no one right now on the waiver wire after the wires have already run this week that I'm just dying to drop Travis Hunter for. I'm also not trading him for nothing because you're not going to get anything for him. So my advice on Travis Hunter is to hold and let the Jaguars thing play out for a few weeks. Maybe we come back and we talk to Thor again. We're like, hey, we got him in the top 36 now. But do you see where I'm coming from? There's just so many variables here. I hated to do it, but I had to downgrade him. But at the same time, I think he's a hold in fantasy.
In redraft, that's what it is. It's not buy low. It's just hold. If you have him on your roster, you have to hold. If they can figure out, if they'll start using him correctly, that's where the ceiling would go up. If they keep doing this, you're going to see more of this. But just because of the talent level and potentially we diversified a little bit and start sending him downfield more, you have to hold. He is a guy I would target in Dynasty, though. I mean,
Yeah. I like that call.
Super duper high, and now they're furious and they're like, "Oh, this guy sucks." I was sold a bill of goods on Travis Hunter. That's the guy you want to call, right? And
Love
so
it.
you can work out. Yeah.
All right, so we're going to cover one more guy here. We're going to talk about Tyler Warren, guys. Yes, I did tell you to draft Trevion Henderson this year, and I'm sorry, but I did also tell you I redeemed myself somewhat by telling you Tyler Warren should be your absolute plan at the tight end position this year. Feeling pretty good about it. Going to throw the utilization on the screen here, Thor. We've got a guy that's remember there were people, the Colts always rotate their tight ends. And I think you were with me and we were both like, no, not once this guy gets there, they won't be. And we haven't seen that. 84% route participation. That's amazing. 24% targets per route run. Guys, that's elite for a tight end. We're talking top 3 kind of stuff. Catchable target rate, 81%. Like, we talked about him being a potential good fit with Daniel Jones. Everyone laughed about it. Guys, I'm not saying I thought Daniel Jones would be a top 10 fantasy quarterback. So don't get things twisted. I'm not trying to say something like that. But in this scheme, with Shane Steichen, heavy RPO, heavy play action. They're moving guys around, and Tyler Warren is the guy you want to create all that space for. And man, it's just a perfect fit with the style of the player and then what they're doing in the scheme. So yeah, man, 52%, Thor, of his targets have come on play action. I mean, so a guy that's I don't know what you called Cam Skattebo a minute ago, like Tyler Warren, like with the ball in his hands. I know he likes to wear the John Riggins number.
Yeah.
Like he's just really hard to get on the ground. And now you're creating that moment of hesitation for that linebacker that has to respect the run. And then suddenly Tyler Warren has a little bit of space, and now you got to deal with trying to get this man on the ground. It is not an easy task to do. So I love Tyler Warren. I think he's a top 3 tight end the rest of the way. What are you seeing on the film for the Penn State Nittany Lion? Golly, I'll twist it up.
It's wheels up for Warren, and we love the fit with him in that scheme. And then Daniel Jones too, a guy whose prerogative is the paper cutting in the passing game, and Warren goes along great with that. Warren, you can line him up anywhere. You can do all the shifting, and we've already seen that with the Colts, right? 37% of his snaps in the slot, 13% out wide, 47 inline.
Backfield too.
I was going to say, I've seen him in the backfield as well.
He's got rushing attempts
all over the place. And they do cool things with their formation too. It's kind of interesting watching it. Like they'll do the double tight ends inline on one side, and then they'll send them out and confuse the defensive backs. I saw a couple of times the defensive backs like flooding one zone and then having the guys go the opposite direction. There was some confusion there, opened up some possibilities. But the big thing with Tyler Warren, it's just manufacturing him touches close, and then you let him run. We've seen him downfield a couple of times, but that's more of a it's sort of the opposite of what we were talking about with Travis Hunter just a second. Of course, it's different positions, but Warren's game is manufactured the touches close. Yeah. And then every now and again, leak them out and go downtown. And if you get the one-on-one shot or he, finds himself, then you can chuck it down to him. He'll make a play. But most of it is manufacturing those touches. He's been really good at that, averaging almost 5 catches a game, 70+ receiving yards and 3 of 4, 98th percentile in yards per route run right now. I mean, like this kid, he just played in his first 4 games. But yeah, the other thing I want to say about his game, like from the Penn State stuff, that I saw last season when they, he gave him like 140 targets. Tyler Warren, when he signed with Penn State as a quarterback. It was this huge left-handed dual threat quarterback out of Virginia. They switched him to tight end really quick, and then they built up his body. He was actually a special teamer for multiple years, Tyler Warren. He's just like a grinder. And he retained the athleticism. And once he got the body up, to the degree that he did last season, Penn State finally gets an offensive coordinator, Andy Kotelnicki, with some creativity. And that's when you saw Warren doing all his stuff, lining up everywhere, the trick plays with him, the time he was the center and he did the shotgun snap, but they had everyone lined up on the right of him on the line. So the center was essentially the left tackle in the formation. He had 4 offensive linemen to his right, which made him an eligible receiver against USC. And he just ran up the seam and they chucked him a lollipop in the end zone. And he caught it. But Tyler Warren, he's going to be a fabulous, fantasy player. Like we had sort of supposed Dwain, and from right out the get. That's the reason that Indianapolis took him. If you saw the inside the war room type videos, I'll watch them all 32 teams, whatever I can get. The Indianapolis war room, when they found out that Tyler Warren was going to be there, it was jubilation, and that card went in real quick. The general manager Ballard, they have in their war room, like it's like, they all sit back. It's kind of stadium seating, and then they have like their big boards like in front of all of them. And every time, with the pick, and then they take someone goes up to it. Ballard was getting out of his seat the second the pick before was announced. This was a no doubter, and you've seen him quickly ingratiate into the offensive player that they really wanted.
Yeah, dude, I love it. Really, really good stuff from you on Tyler Warren. I've got him as the tight end 3 the rest of the way in the rest of season projection model, guys. So look, it's going to be a tight race once we get George Kittle back. So and you get Brock Bowers healthy right now, dealing with his RoboCop knee. But once Bowers is back to full health, we've got Trey McBride, we've got Brock Bowers, we've got George Kittle, and then we've got Tyler Warren, and they're all in that conversation. And Tucker Kraft trying to push his way into that deal as well, Thor. But what are your thoughts on Tyler Warren and your rest of season outlook?
I love that, having him top 3. It's aggressive. I think it's right. He's been getting targeted every single game. He is an integral part of their game plan every single game, and it's a better offense than we thought, right? Like, I was thinking, I was bullish, as Dwain, both with the draft, he was my tight end 1, and I had him top 10 overall on my board. But then also with fantasy in particular, this fit, I absolutely loved it. And I saw some other people out there that were like, oh, well, tight ends start slow. And the thing with the platooning of the tight ends and the distant pass with the Colts, and it's a bad offense, like all this different stuff. It's like, no. This is the Brock Bowers thing all over again. It's just Warren's bigger. He's 3 inches taller. He's like 30 pounds heavier than Brock Bowers. And Brock Bowers is more fluid as an athlete, certainly, but you don't have the power that Warren does. But it's the same thing of, what we thought was going to be a bad offense. You're bringing this guy in so you can manufacture efficiency, but we'll get closer to the sticks. In this case, it was to help out Jonathan Taylor with that. But now it turns out that they have their overall quality of their offense is better than we thought. And so Warren, the ceiling also goes up with that.
Love it. Love it. So you guys heard it all here first. Just a quick recap of the guys that we went through and our advice on them. Woody Marks is a low-end running back 2 the rest of the way. Embrace it. Live your life. Lad McConkey, better days are ahead, guys. He could already be a wide receiver 1, if not for some of the big plays that were missed. Thor and I both have him in that middling to low-end wide receiver 2 territory, just because there's more mouths to feed. Quinshon Judkins, we have as a low-end to mid-range running back 2. You're feeling good about his ability. A little bit of questions with what's going to happen with the offense. Tetairoa McMillan, 11.5 fantasy points so far this year. We think he's underperforming. We do think better days are ahead, despite the fact that he's dealing with Bryce Young. Cam Skattebo, we have as a low-end running back 2 the rest of the way. If we're ranking those running backs, I had it down as Quinshon Judkins, then Cam Skattebo, then Woody Marks. Thor was slightly different with Woody Marks 1 spot ahead of Cam Skattebo, but we're really close on those guys. Bottom line is we like them. Travis Hunter, not being used appropriately for the Jaguars, and we need something to change. We need less snaps on defense. There's a lot of things working against him. He is a buy big time in Dynasty. If you're playing right now in redraft, he is a hold, and you just hope that someone, baby shakes, Liam Cohen into getting this guy utilized in more ways. If you have Tyler Warren, all we can tell you is congratulations. You're starting this guy every single week. He is a top 3 tight end the rest of the way. But Thor, you have some big news to share with us. Like, you are already so heavy into the 2026 draft scene. Tell people what you have coming over at fantasylife.com.
Yeah, we're dropping my 2026 first NFL draft big board. As you listen to this, it will be out on Fantasy Life, but I ranked out the top 60 draft eligible prospects. And so it was really fun going through. It's tough to do midstream, because obviously the information you get week in and week out. Last season of college football for these guys, the most important part of their evaluation, but pretty fascinating going through the guys who have risen, the guys who have fallen, and then trying to put a board out of it. So for NFL draft fans out there, go and check that out on Fantasy Life. And then also our Devy players out there as well. There's some nuggets in there for, considering you're planning for the next draft class coming up. interesting class. It's not as good of a running back class as we had last year. The receiver class, there's some depth there. I kind of like the receiver class more than I thought I was gonna. And I mentioned, Kendall's probably going to wonder, why'd you put Skattebo, my boy? Why'd you put him as third in the pecking order, right? But Jordan Tyson, clear wide receiver 1 in the 2026 class from Arizona State. So hopefully
I have a feeling Kendall will be excited about that Sun Devil as well.
100%. Forks up.
Yeah. All right, man. Looking forward to that, Thor. I mean, I so appreciate having you on. Great job by you. We will look to having you back on the show. Guys, if you like the show, let us know. If there's things you want to see us do differently in the next show, let us know in the comments. You can do it either on the podcast or you do it over on the YouTube channel. So until next time, we will talk data to you again next Friday. So I will see you then.